It's been about 3 years since you've been here. So it's definitely my pleasure to welcome Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and the president here. It's the first time for Dr. Law to have his meeting here. Not to be here. So we certainly hope you enjoy your stay, and it would be my pleasure if any of you after the meeting would like to take a walk around. I'd love to take you around and let you see again, refresh your memory on what we have going on here. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting us, and thank you for your team hosting us.
Yes, thank you.
Certainly appreciate it. Would you please stand? Mr. Johnson has kindly agreed to give us the blessing today, and then we will have the pledge to the flag.
Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we give thanks that you have allowed us to get together here this morning. We ask that you will provide the wisdom that we're needed to make the decisions to move this college forward. We thank you for your presence in the past and what you have done to build this institution into this community's college. We ask now that you go forth with each person here today as they carry out their duties and do it in a way that would be honorable to you. We ask these things now in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Johnston. Beautiful prayer. Our first order of business is one which is always one of mixed emotions for the college, and that is the recognition of our retirees. And Dr. Law, if you would take it from here, please.
Thank you very much. This morning, we have, there are a number you saw listed in the agenda, but 2 of our retirees are with us this morning. Marcia Lang. Marcia, come on up, okay? Tom, you better come too, okay? This is a family affair.
Yeah. Great group.
Good to see you. Marcia Lang, known as Lala to her family and friends, began her career as a student services assistant on the St. Petersburg Gibbs campus of St. Petersburg College, formerly St. Petersburg Junior College, in 1996. And Marcia has been a lead cashier in the business office for the past 15 years. And whereas Marcia contributed to the business office efficiencies in many ways, including the creation of a tracking spreadsheet for paid and unpaid parking tickets and tracking of all health insurance payments for retirees. And whereas Marcia is known by students and colleagues as the person who always greeted them by their first name and with a smile, and was always willing to help and encourage others. And whereas Marcia is a very caring, hardworking, dependable, and dedicated person who takes her job responsibilities very seriously, we wish her much happiness in her retirement. It is our hope she will take some time for herself and enjoy her husband, children, and grandchildren. Now therefore be it resolved that the St. Petersburg College Board of Trustees and the total college community hereby recognize and appreciate the outstanding contributions of the college, to the college and to the community by Marcia M. Lang, and extend to her our best wishes for enjoyment through the years ahead. Said resolution adopted and approved by the Board of Trustees, St. Petersburg College, this 21st day of June 2011.
Thank you.
Marcy, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Oh, you look here for me.
All right, well, yeah, we'll do the picture first.
Just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege, and I love each and every one of you, and I'm going to miss the students more than you could ever know. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
I want to express my congratulations to Marcia and Tom, because Tom's retiring too in this month, and both have just served this community for many, many years, and as a team. I mean, it really, Tom and Marcia have always been a team, and serving, you know that Tom served as police chief of St. Pete Beach and has been with the Police Standards Board here, and 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 Marcia, our friendship has gone a long time, and a lot of laughs, and a lot of fun, and a lot of dedication to this community. But today is not only a special day for Marcia and her retirement, it's also a birthday, isn't it? And so, I'm the world's worst singer, but I'm going to lead y'all, and there's another birthday in the house, in Jim Oliver. Jim, where are you? Okay, Jim, stand up. So it's happy birthday to Marcia and Jim. Are you ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Marcia and Jim. Happy birthday to you.
First day of summer, and it's hot, hot, hot.
It is hot, hot, hot.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
very
so
much. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Mike. Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Well, I had heard that Jim Oliver was getting old, but I didn't believe that. Steve Meyer.
Yay.
Glad you could be here.
Glad to be here.
His groupies are here too. Okay. Whereas Steve Meyer began his career as an economics instructor on the St. Petersburg Gibb campus of St. Petersburg College, formerly St. Petersburg Junior College, in 1976. And whereas Steve became the advisor of the Eta Nu chapter of Phi Theta Kappa in 1979, since that time, the Eta Nu chapter has ranked in the top 10 chapters internationally and has received the Beta Alpha Continued Excellence Award for the past 20 consecutive years. And whereas Steve has been the recipient of the Florida Advisor Continued Excellence Award at the Phi Theta Kappa Florida Convention 10 times, and whereas Steve has conducted workshops for other Phi Theta Kappa advisors at the state, national, and international levels, and whereas Steve is known to his students and colleagues as a dedicated instructor, always willing to give his best to his students and the college. His gift to his students is intangible, and what they perhaps do not realize is that the most valuable asset they possess is the model Steve Meyer has exhibited through mentoring. He's a true servant leader, and whereas Steve is one of the first instructors to embrace online instruction and has taught on SPC Online Economics course since its inception, and whereas Steve represents a leader with vision because he adheres to ethical standards, he inspires and motivates, and this is all achieved in a quiet, unassuming, and humble manner.
That's right.
And whereas Steve is a devoted husband, father, and Tampa Bay Rays fan, we wish him happiness in his retirement as he travels, spends time with his family, and continues to support his favorite baseball team. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the St. Petersburg College Board of Trustees and the total college community hereby recognize and appreciate the outstanding contributions of Steve Meyer and extend to him our best wishes for enjoyment through the years ahead. Adopted this and approved this 21st day of June 2011.
Thank you.
First of all, I would ask the board to join me for this retirement resolution, since Steve has really meant so much to this college in his sponsorship as the faculty advisor to Phi Theta Kappa, and the wonderful recognition he's brought to this college by his stewardship as the faculty advisor to Phi Theta Kappa. Now, I remember when he became the Phi Theta Kappa, Nevis Harrington got promoted,
Right.
and the president sought you out and asked you to be the advisor to Phi Theta Kappa. And in 1978, I first met Mr. Meyer as my instructor in macro and microeconomics, 2 semesters of Mr. Meyer. And let me tell you, it was one of the toughest courses. No, I didn't do too well. I'll admit, one of the toughest 2 courses that I've taken at St. Petersburg Junior College at the time. And, you know, when you take those tough courses, you generally don't appreciate your faculty member too much, you know? It must be them, not you. But as I shared this story with another person, when I went to USF, and one of the courses which separates we used to say, the men from the boys, I guess that's inappropriate anymore, was price theory, which was the next in the economics level. And I got an A on my price theory course because of the great foundation Mr. Meyer set for me for macro and microeconomics here at St. Petersburg Junior College. So I appreciate you a lot more then than at the time, Mr. Meyer. But I can tell you this, Steve has affected so many students' lives throughout the many years, not only with his, as a faculty member in economics, which is very important because that's obviously in today's world with monetary policies and all, economics is vital, but also with his leadership of Phi Theta Kappa. If you think about the thousands of students who have gone through Phi Theta Kappa, who've gotten an engagement to the service to their community while here, because that's a big segment of Phi Theta Kappa, the leadership aspect, being a leader and a servant at the same time, and the lives which he can't probably even imagine in his wildest imagination, how many people which he has affected in such a positive way. This college owes you so much, Steve, and we wish you the best. We arranged last night up in Milwaukee for the Rays to win in your tribute to you. So, I mean...
I didn't know you had those connections.
You see, that was Bill. But I just want to say thank you again and congratulations. We wish you the absolute best. We want to hear from you now.
Well, I think you pretty much said it all. But, you know, as a professor, I think I'm usually pretty demanding, but I do give the students the foundation so that they can go on and be successful in their courses, and I think Ken really proves that. I've had a lot of fun at the college. It's been very enjoyable. It's been a great ride. I do thank the college for its support of myself as well as Phi Theta Kappa, and I guess I got to go someplace else now. But I wouldn't mind coming back and being an adjunct, but based on state laws, I can't come back for a year. But got time to think about what I want to do and do some things that maybe I wasn't able to do before. I would like to take like a fall vacation for a change. I will get to spend more time with my family. But again, I made a lot of friends here, both faculty, administration-wise, but sure made a lot of friends with the students, and it's been great. Again, thank you very much.
But Steve, with the many years that I was here with you, you did a superb job with Phi Theta Kappa and as an inspiration to students and as an inspiration to the board. And so thank you very much for the years back.
And I got to say, Joe's an A new member, one of the original ones, close to it anyway, right?
Very near it, yes.
Emily, get in for a picture, please.
All right, we're going to, one more picture.
Come on, Joe.
Come on, Joe, you're in. All right.
Terry, you can get over here. Act like you like it.
I'm trying to stay in the back. Thank you very much. I know my place.
That's the way you grew up.
Thank you very much.
Steve, thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
This first question, as you were talking, was that a one-semester course? They took
Two
two times?
Well, he's trying to cover up things. It was like my junior year of high school, my best 2 years of my life, you know.
Mr. Chairman, can I take just one more minute here for a recognition on the fly? People, as I return, people say, well, what looks different? What strikes you? And we've talked about many things. I need to tell you, at the Health Education Center, the first time I came back, I was pleasantly stunned by the aesthetic quality of what has been created here. Phil, I think my bona fides here, President Cutler bought this building, handed me the keys, and said, go down there and look around, see what we can do with that. I mean, I was here today, and he took the building from the web folks. But I've asked, Shelley Allen is the groundskeeper here, and I asked you, and Shelley, stand up if you would, okay? This woman does an outstanding job. It is hard work. My wife would tell you I would rather take beating than enjoy work, so I admire what she does.
Kelly.
Mr. Chairman, I have just pass out what has presiding agenda on it. There's just two minor changes. I'd like to take one item in a little different order than it was on there, and there was a typographical error in one of the items, and I'll just substitute that in right now.
Thank you, sir. We have the retirement resolutions, and we have a motion by Mr. Brett for adoption. Is there a second? And I just want to point out, the other folks couldn't be here, but reading their retirement resolutions were quite impressive group of folks, and we certainly wish them the best. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll now move on to, unless you have other recognitions or announcements, sir, to the board comments, and I have several. First of all, Devron and I, along with several administrators, I know Karen White, Yvonne Ulmer, Susan, you were there, Comfort Lee, were you there at the NAACP dinner also? And who else was there? Francis knew? Yes, I sat right next to her. So. Anyone else that leave out? Watson Hayes, and we had Senator Joyner, Martina Joyner, join us at our table as a guest of Devron. And we attended the NAACP dinner. It was held at the Coliseum. It was a big event and a very positive event. Excellent evening. The college had a table. Thank you, Dr. Law, for agreeing to that, because I thought that was a good event for our college to be represented. Again, a very positive evening. You were one of the hosts for the dinner, and you were recognized as such, and I want to point that out. And just thank the college for the opportunity to invite the board members to attend, and we certainly appreciate it. And I think the folks, the administrators there, we had a nice time together. You were there too, Ann, weren't you? Not that one. You're so many of these, I get them confused. And then, Mr. President, I think you attended the Urban League dinner. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Very same experience. We were lucky enough to have Captain Kennedy and her husband join us, Watson, myself. I'm trying to think once again.
Devron there also.
Sam Smack was with us.
Our
Linda,
Sarah Pemberton.
Sarah Pemberton, our student. So again, very, very well done. Devron was, Mr. Gibbons was there. Susan Ryder was there.
And Reggie Harris joined us.
Reggie Harris, yes. Okay, and Christina.
And Linda Hogan.
Anyway, it was, and we had a chance to connect with the lieutenant and had a nice several minutes with her off on the side to talk about issues of the courts and the college and the system.
Where was that dinner held?
That was at the Vinoy,
Okay.
and it was last Friday evening, and it turned out to be a very pleasant evening. We're very proud. I had met with the executive board of the Urban League some months ago, and we look forward to working closely with them. So again, our good friend Mervyn Williams is the intermediary for us.
Dr. Law, just so you know, Dr. Bumpus, the president and CEO of AACC, is working to establish a better relationship nationally between the AACC and the Urban League. And I wrote him to tell him that about our involvement here locally. And I said, if you survey grassroots, it's probably already happening. We just need to make it happen on the national level.
Mr. Chairman, Greg Johnson had just gotten back from that meeting and dutifully reported that his connections had been made. So thank you for taking that energy.
I would like to also point out as a important matter is that we had the president's evaluation at last meeting. We had a motion to extend this contract for a year. We just executed that contract this morning. I want to thank Mr. Lang and Ms. Gardner for their assistance with this. And I think board members will appreciate the fact that instead of doing amendments to the contract, and that, remember when you amend the contract over a period of years, we say, well, where's this amendment, how does this fit in? They just did an amended contract. So we have one document, we just look at, and everything's contained in that one document. The last document's now null and void. And so I think that would be part of your Friday packet. Kim will ask that if you would send a copy of the executed contract to each board member in our Friday packet for your, just for your reference, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that will resolve a great deal of problems in the future.
And I appreciate your thanks, but I had nothing to do with it. Our attorneys did, so we'll say thank you to them.
Under your direction.
But I appreciate the nice comment. I also want to point out that Freitas invited me to take part in, he was the faculty advisor along with another faculty member for the students going to Derry, Ireland, in Northern Ireland. And he invited me to come hear their report, which they gave. And it was a wonderful evening to hear from the students and their impressions of their trip to Derry, what their experience was like for them. And it just shows how important the international ed part of our curriculum that we offer here. One of the total college experience, as Dr. Lowell likes to use that expression. And I appreciate you, Earl. First of all, going on a trip like that is a lot of responsibility on faculty members to do that type of thing. It's not fun and games. It's a constant effort. Although hopefully you had a nice time while there. But the report from the students was especially good, and just to see what it added, not only the students' breadth of knowledge as far as a global outlook to things, but these are students that they said, I don't think any of them knew each other before going there, and the tightness of the group, and you could tell, and they came from all different backgrounds. One of our students, I think, was from Ecuador. Is that the country? Did I get it right? And she's a student here, and she went on the Ireland trip. And so it's just interesting, just how it all comes around. I appreciate you inviting me to that event, and I just want to acknowledge what a neat student experience, and thank you, Earl, for making that happen. The only other item I have to report is that our next meeting is our annual meeting. That's where we have our election of officers. I know it's my tradition, and I hope we'll keep the tradition that a vice chair becomes chair. But we have to think about that and obviously elect a vice chair. And I know it's somewhat awkward because there's 4 of the 5 of us who terms have expired, but I think we have to move forward unless we get word otherwise out of Tallahassee between now and next board meeting. This is something which is important to me as far as talking about because we asked the president during the presidential search what is his role in this process, and he gave the right answer that any president should give. It has no involvement in this process. This is totally a board process, and so really, and we can't have discussions between board meetings, so we just have to be prepared for next meeting to make the motion to discuss who we would like as our chair and as our vice chair. I should make my voice known here, but I certainly hope Mr. Brett accepts being chair, and I hope we have another person nominated as our vice chair.
Well, a point here, should we even try to elect a vice chair at this time? Do we have to, by law, have a vice chair?
I'm not sure by law, but we're going to be looking at a board rules today that we're passing, which assigns the vice chair a duty. So we should have a vice chairman, whether it's required or not. Mr. Lang, do you care to weigh in on this?
It would be my opinion you should elect the vice chair. The statute says that you will elect a chair and a vice chair, and you're advising that the rule does cover a duty for the vice chair. If the vice chair should lose his seat for any reason, or her seat for any reason, then you can appoint a successor. But I think at the annual meeting,
Not as a person I've had the opportunity to serve on a national level and observe boards from throughout this country, I'm very complimentary of this board that we do move the chairmanship around. I think that makes for a more positive board. It shows a tangible sign that, first of all, it's a great equalizer. All board members' opinions count, that we give each the opportunity and the obligation and the responsibility to serve as chair eventually. And it makes, I think, for a stronger board. And Mr. Johnson, you deserve the credit for that because you basically said that motion because you could have been kept renominated, reelected as chair, and you said no.
But we had,
10 years ago that no, this should be rotated about.
well, we all had, at that time, we still do, have very good board members, and I didn't think, and I'm glad you agree with it, that it's not something that someone should sit on. Automatic. When I first got on the board, that's what happened. The chairman was there forever until governor removed it for some reason or other. And I don't think that's the way it should be. And that way, Mr. Lang becomes the only chair emeritus that we'll probably ever have.
And Ken, I want to tell everybody how much I appreciate your chairmanship.
Thank you.
That you've done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
You went above and beyond. And I don't know if we can replace you.
But this is about this Dr. Law. I'm happy first anniversary again. That was a fun party.
And other thing, when I received my board packet today, I couldn't believe all the work that went into that. And I want to commend the staff and whoever worked on that, because I could hardly carry it. It was so heavy. And I want to thank the staff for the hard work that you all do. And Dr. Law, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Red.
In the interest of time, I just want to thank Ken for arranging the surprise party for Dr. Law. I think that Ken's idea and the staff to be able to pull off what I think was maybe truly a surprise was quite a feat. So anyway, thanks for doing that, and I'll reserve comment on the other items.
Deborah, thank you for your help in making all that happen. It was fun. Good job.
I just want to echo what the other two had said about the surprise party. I think it was very nice to have that. I didn't see how it could remain a surprise, but apparently it did. And I'm glad it worked out the way it did. We had a good meal. Ellen picked out a good spot and did her part. And I think it was nice for all of us as a college family to have a good evening together. And that's the part I enjoyed more than anything else. Just to sit down with people I don't generally sit down with and just enjoy good conversations, because most of the time we're working. I have another thing I wanted to comment on, and I think this is something I'd like to see maybe the board do more of. I know it's not, I had an opportunity, Dr. Chuck Jones, who teaches a class called Religion and Politics, and he had invited Mayor Foster to come in and be a speaker. And he also involved Dr. White. She came. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I was amazed at the questions that the students had put forth to the mayor of how he reconciled his religion with politics. And he did an excellent job. But the fact that I was allowed to sit through that class, and I did comment to him that almost volunteered, if he ever wanted board participation in his classes, to ask us. And maybe that would go out to all the instructional staff. It's probably very enlightening for us to be on campus and sit through a class to get a real feel of our students. And I said I was amazed at the questions they asked. They got into gay parades, they got into various issues, tough issues. And the mayor, I thought, did an excellent job in reconciling how he viewed those from his religious base and how he used the Constitution to govern the way he governed the city. And it was thoroughly enjoyable class, and I think I learned a lot about the students that we got here at this institution. And I was very much rewarded by their behavior, their comments, and the way they participated in the discussions, because they asked some pretty frank questions that I would have had a tough time answering. And I don't know whether other faculty members want to do that or not, but if they did, I think it's something that we would all gain from.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for sharing that experience with us. It is very enlightening and energizing when we go spend time with our students, isn't it?
It is.
Mr. Lang, you have a report for us?
Very briefly.
Sorry, the minutes. I don't know why I picked this each month, though, Sarah. Thank you for keeping me alive. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes as submitted? Mr. Brett, move approval. Mr. Johnson, seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Lang.
Still very briefly, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to announce that we received word that it appears, this is not in concrete yet, that we're going to receive a no further action necessary letter with regard to the church property that we just acquired.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you. That's good news. Ms. Gardner, do you have any report for us today?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a brief report on some enhancements to the college website for the Board of Trustees site, and I'm going to come to the podium for that. Dr. Duncan's going to help me. From the college's main webpage, if you click on Board of Trustees, you'll go to our site for the board. Here, there's information about our college leadership, governance, Board of Trustees, news and events, also some compliance components. We have, under board information, we have board meetings, agendas, materials for 3 months going back, and also in our archives, we have months previous to that. Also, we have rule development notices, which is another part of our compliance for AQA rulemaking. And this would be like the notice for the rules that we're going to look at today. There's also information on upcoming meetings. Under board members, if you click there, there would be information biographical on each of the board members and their terms of service. There it goes. Doug, if you could go to the Board of Trustees and then click on Rules and Procedures, there has also been an enhancement to the Rules and Procedures page. The rules have been broken out until there are 6 components, and if you would just kind of click on one of them. The rules are in a better format for access, rules and procedures under different segments, and Doug, if you could scroll down to the bottom. In addition to that format, the rules can also be searched on an A to Z topical index and by keyword and phrase search. So those have been some recent enhancements to the Board of Trustees site. Any questions?
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
We'll now hear from our provost report. First of all, Mr. Brock.
Good morning. I want to share with you a bit of information concerning our summer program. Something new and unique for the All-State Center, where we've actually embraced several activities relating to young children, primarily middle school age children. And I've listed for you the multi-day camps that span from June, actually started 2 weeks ago, through August. We had a good opening ceremony yesterday with our first event, the ICOPS program, Inner City Operation to Recruit for Public Safety. This is a partnership with the City of St. Petersburg, JWB, and the St. Pete Recreation Department to provide exposure to 60 middle school age children in the area of public safety. They will be with us for 8 weeks, and for 2 days a week, we're going to take them through hands-on activity, exposing them to every aspect of public safety in the hopes of planting some seeds of interest and excitement that they may consider career opportunities in the public safety field in the future. This came out of a result of a meeting with City Council, St. Pete City Council, back around Christmas time last year, and big advocate of Herb Polson, pushed behind the scenes along with the mayor, Dr. Law, and had kickoff ceremonies yesterday morning. It was very, very positive, and we're excited to be a part of this. One unique thing that we're going to include in this is a follow-up throughout the next year of those students who express and may have an interest in being involved in the public safety careers, of recruiting them into the Explorer programs, the Pinellas County School Board Magnet School for Public Safety, create a tracking system or we will follow back up with them monthly, maybe invite them onto campus to have some exposure with our recruits and other activities in the public safety arena. We're then going to have 2 junior achievement partnerships where we have 28 to 30, 15 and 16-year-olds, primarily from Gibbs High School at this time. The first group for 2 weeks will focus on those students that have a 3.0 GPA who have either failed the college placement test or have not taken it yet. There's some preparation work that's going to be done. Our intent is to get them to the level where they can successfully succeed in that area and then hopefully bring them into the dual enrollment classes during the next year. This is the program that will expand also into Bogosiega next year under the efforts of Watson Haynes and his team down at Gulf State Center. There's 2 components to that. The first one and the second one will be July 8th. A little bit different, same number of students, same target group, but these are children with a lower GPA who have not been successful or have not taken the college placement because they're not eligible. So we want to enhance those skills so that they actually become eligible to take the college placement and again, bring them into the dual enrollment programs. We have the Class 2 Dunning Camp. This is a forensic camp in our 3rd year where it's science-based using the CSI philosophy of solving a crime. We do all the things you might see in a forensic or crime scene technology program. And these are middle-aged, going into high school children. Have a science teacher from the school board teaching it. It's been very successful. We run 2 one-week camps for about 25 students in a hands-on solving the crime type activity. We have partnered with STEM programs, science, technology, engineering, and math through Thurgood Marshall School in a partnership with Bright House and the school system, where we will be exposed to about 150 middle-aged school children again to bring them into the All-State Center and exposure primarily to our TV studios and the development of TV production and those type of activities. That program is very, very massive at this point. We're getting our arms around it, learning as we go. This is all very new for us, a bunch of cop shop people trying to figure out, how to interact effectively with these young children. But it's been very positive. We've got a building full of children down there, which is something very new. Have a series of single-day activity tours that many of the other campuses will have during the summer also. Camp Choice, Summer Success, Education for Youth, which is a partnership with the United States Coast Guard, where they take at-risk and really problematic children that are right on the cusp of being involved in criminal activity or have been involved but not yet convicted, and we're going to bring them through and expose them to opportunities in both the military and law enforcement. And then again, Summer Success Department and the Summer Career Institute, another subcomponent of the STEM program, which will focus specifically on forensic sciences. The kids watch this stuff on TV and feel that that's the way it is in the real world, so we're bringing in and playing off of those strengths. Holding it together a little bit with duct tape and bubble gum and caulk and making it work. I had a word processing clerk guiding a tour yesterday, and that's okay. Everybody has pitched in and made it work very well, so we're excited on these new adventures. Any questions?
Good report. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Good morning again. This morning I thought I'd talk a little bit about where healthcare is going, what's new in healthcare, and what effect does it have on our programs and how we educate our students here. Every 6 months, a new drug comes out. Several times a year, there's new research studies done. But probably the biggest trend going on in healthcare today is the infusion of technology in practices. That's called healthcare informatics. Back in where have we been here at the college, and specifically at HEC, and as this is rolled out? I mean, it's not completely rolled out in healthcare yet, but about 4 years ago, we received a grant from the Department of Labor and the Department of Education to develop an academic program in healthcare informatics. And so we began to infuse that into the curriculum in our health information management program. And hopefully next year we begin to infuse that into the other healthcare programs here at AGC. We were the first college to offer in Florida an academic certificate and degree in this program. Today, probably all of the colleges in Florida and many in the United States offer this degree, and they've used our curriculum as a framework to do that. You can see we've had about 187 graduates since then. But what I put up here is this little, I know it's difficult to see, but all of you go to your doctor and he comes in with his chart. It could be this thick or it could be this thick. Well, that's going away because that's what your new chart's going to look like, and he's going to sit on your computer and he's going to be doing the same thing that he did in your chart. So I think we're on the cutting edge with this. This is all mandated by the federal government in every position, and there's some resistance to this. And realistically out there in the field, that every physician would have an electronic healthcare record in his office by 2014. I think that may be ambitious for the government, but we're getting there. And can I answer any questions for you?
Bill Rackett, this is up your area. Do you have any questions?
No, I think it's a good idea, but it's going to be hard to convert all the doctors that have been practicing for years.
Right, they're very resistant to it, and Medicare has put in incentives to begin electronic medical records, put it into their offices. So hopefully that will persuade them to do that, but there is still much resistance.
Yeah, the younger doctors can do it, but the older ones,
Correct.
they might be quitting now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good report.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Karen White.
Good morning. I want to talk to you today about the College of Computer and Information Technology as it appears at St. Pete Gibbs campus. Recall that a year ago, the Upper Division College of Technology Management and the Lower Division Business Technologies program came together and formed two distinct colleges. Thank you. The CCIT that I'm talking about today and the College of Business. With this melding of the lower and the upper division departments and programs and staff, we have much clearer career paths for our students now. A certificate flows into an AS degree. The AS degree naturally leads to the Bachelor of Applied Science degree. You can see on the left-hand side of the slide the various certificate names and the various tracks in the AS degree program, so that there's 312 St. Pete Gibbs students in total in those programs. You can also see on the left, the numbers in black are the numbers of St. Pete Gibbs students in each of those programs. Now, for the programs where you see single-digit enrollment, note that the individual courses in those programs do have robust enrollment, but it's more the students who come to us not necessarily to earn a certificate or a degree. However, with our newly energized efforts to direct and encourage students and have them focus on completion, we expect those certificate and degree program enrollments to be on the rise. Of the 387 BAS students college-wide, 116 of them are at St. Pete Gibbs. This program, or this college, also takes care of the gen ed requirement for computer literacy. We have two different courses they can take or they can test out. At St. Pete Gibbs, we have 4 state-of-the-art computer labs for CCIT. 2 of them are the more basic labs for basic literacy and computer applications courses, and then 2 of them are high-end for visual basic and other high-end programming courses. CCIT has a blog. Its readership has doubled since January. It's gone from 234 to 408 readers. We have a relatively new internship curriculum for some of the AS programs. That internship is not required yet, but by January of next year, it will be required for all of the programs. As our internship coordinator is out in the community, Susan Bazuski-Eber, she hears the same comments everywhere she goes in the field. Oh, I got my start at SPC. I had great instructors there. There were good programs there. She enjoys that when she's out and about. A little anecdotal information as usual. Ricard Williamson, a student of our own faculty member Darlene Westberg, who is also the FGO chair at St. Pete Gibbs, as you know, secured a position in web design following his internship. Sandra Beck will be one of our brand new instructors this fall in CCIT, and she actually taught computer applications for us at Gibbs High School this past spring. Bill Barzin, full-time computer application instructor, volunteers at Mount Vernon Elementary School in the Exceptional Student Education Program. Nancy Russell, our academic coordinator, serves as president of Dollars for Scholars Thrift Store Board. Phil DeSica is a student enrolled in the web design program, and he's the recipient of the Sean Carraro Memorial Scholarship. Jay Dugan is a former student in our computer science program, and he will be an adjunct for us this fall. And Eva Hefner has taught computer applications for almost 34 years and will be retiring this December. So as SPG and the College of Computer and Information Technology continues to grow and provide ever-improving career paths for our students, I'd like to acknowledge the capable and faithful leadership of Dean Sharon Setterlin and Academic Coordinator Nancy Russell.
Questions for Mrs. White?
Thank you.
Thank you. Good report. Very interesting. Dr. Mahoney from the Faculty Senate, and I want to welcome all our faculty members who are here today. We have a good amount of faculty where are our faculty members? Would you all please stand and be recognized who are out there? And I think we have something in the agenda further down when it comes to a salary schedule you'll be pleased with. Hopefully we all work on it together. And Dr. Mahoney, we're looking forward to your report as always.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, trustees, Dr. Law, and colleagues. This morning I would like to give you a short summary of the FGO accomplishments from this almost complete academic year. Faculty asked for the ability to do a set number of office hours online in place of on-campus hours. We presented this request citing the benefits to both students and faculty, and we were successful in achieving that, hence virtual office hours. You have already heard a lot about the Professor Emeritus honor. This is an FGO initiative that was long overdue, and we are pleased to be able to honor those individuals who serve the college in such an exceptional manner. Faculty asked for expanded access hours on campus. There were times that a faculty member wanted to work in his or her office, or maybe retrieve an item left in the office after hours. FGO presented this issue and were able to work with administration to work out a reasonable schedule. Full-time faculty are evaluated yearly by their dean. Included in that evaluation is an observation. We proposed that faculty with continuing contract have the option of being observed by a peer rather than the dean, every other year. That observation would become part of the yearly evaluation. The new process was implemented during the spring semester. In an effort to give faculty more access to the agendas, minutes, and other documents of the FGO, we now have a SharePoint site. There is also a discussion board for faculty to share thoughts and ideas. Then, FGO is very proud of the work of the Faculty Compensation Committee. The collaborative effort of this team to arrive at a fair, equitable, and financially feasible plan will give our faculty the salaries they deserve. Overall, faculty have become more involved in many aspects of FGO and college-wide activities. We believe this has a great deal to do with the support of this board and the willingness of Dr. Law to listen to our concerns and act on them where possible. We are very appreciative of Dr. Law's continued support of the faculty at St. Petersburg College.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I have a question. Mr. Johnson has a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I'd like to comment that I think under Dr. Law's leadership, he has I want to thank him for that, and I'm sure all the faculty feel the same way, because I think it brings our family closer together.
We're proud of that. Amen.
Absolutely. We believe the same thing.
Any other questions for Dr. Moore? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Now,
you.
Mr. Chairman, we were talking about Steve Meyer's interest in baseball. It is secondary to Dr. Mahoney's interest in baseball. She texted me at 8-something one night that says, we're at the ball game and my son just got the home run ball on his birthday. Mahoney is a great mother.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I do want to point out, too, that David Clement is here from the director of our Public Policy Institute, and we have a very special occasion coming up, don't we? Do you want to care to comment on that real quickly for us? Sure. You can have the microphone. You can push Mr. Bennett away a little.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members and President Wall. On July 1st, a week from Friday, we will have our formal dedication luncheon for the Institute and hope to have a great turnout. We are planning a couple of speeches. It won't be too long, but we hope that the board will all be able to make it and the cabinet and all invited people. We've sent out a lot of invitations and look forward to a great afternoon.
It is a big occasion for St. Petersburg College on this. I want to thank Mr. Brett for his involvement in our Public Policy Institute, representing the board especially. But also, it's and Congressman Young, obviously, what he's brought to the table for our Public Policy Institute. This is something we're all looking forward to. The Institute received very good publicity in our Seminole Beacon, the front page. There's a big picture of you on there and a nice write-up, and I want to thank you for your leadership there.
Thank you, and thanks for your support. Look forward to the next 5 or 10 years or 20 years.
Amen. July 1st, Friday, July 1st, from noon to 1:30. And Dr. Law, if you would introduce the next part of our agenda, and that's our student success and achievement on legislative matters, please.
Over the past some time, a couple of items have had our attention away from the college, but they impact us greatly. Two in particular, the federal government has been rewriting the higher ed bill for some time, and one of the most important features comes under a title called gainful employment. Can students actually pay for the loans they're getting? How much money are students borrowing? What are the conditions that would allow them to pay this back? We're very concerned about student debt and those sort of things. So the feds have interacted, a lot of work, and a great deal of this focus, incidentally, was on our proprietary school colleagues, okay, where the students, obviously the cost of the student is several times what ours is. So that, I thought the feds have now resolved that issue. It will impact us some, and I thought Michael would be a good person to just give us an overview of what that means, certainly at our level. And then secondly, Bright Futures is a work in change, and it impacts our students, and certainly these are the kinds of things you as board members will hear in your interaction throughout the community. So Michael Bennett, of course, lays awake at night thinking about these things and is really up to speed. And I'd ask Michael to give us an executive overview of these two topics, Mr. Chairman. I think these are things board members should be familiar with.
Good morning, everyone. First, I'm going to start out and talk about the Bright Futures. As most know, in 1997, the legislature created the Bright Futures Scholarship Program to reward students for academic achievements. And there's 3 different scholarships that fall under the Bright Futures umbrella. The state appropriation for the upcoming year is $350 million, and here at SPC last year we awarded $3.7 million to 2,590 students, with awards ranging from $462 to $1,848. The changes in the upcoming year, all Bright Futures applicants will have to complete the free application for federal student aid. Summer terms can no longer be used to meet renewal requirements. There's going to be SAT, ACT test scores requirements for initial eligibility for the Florida Medallion Program to increase, and other programs will increase as we move forward. And there's new community service requirements for each of the 3 scholarships.
Michael, go back to that one, if you would just back up a little bit. So in our travels, several things are coming up. ACT and SAT test score requirements for the medallion program, which has been really the backbone of our relationship with our students. So again, they are ratcheting up the requirements for students as they make the transition to us. And then summer term is a different animal. So there's a great deal of scrutiny. So when you come out of church on Sunday and somebody says, my Sunday, they changed the rules on my son or daughter for summer term, the answer is yes. They are working very hard to make it the most effective program as they can.
There's, in terms of rumors for the future, they're talking about changing the Bright Futures to move towards becoming a need-based program, and an early analysis would be about 80% of our students would not be affected if it moved to need-based. The scholarship recipients that are not meeting the renewal requirements at the end of the spring term might have an option to repay all of the annual funding they receive, and that's for the future. And we already know that we're collecting tuition and fees for students who withdraw from Bright Futures during the year. In the fall of 2010, that was about $98,000, and in the spring it was $144,000, affecting about 800 students.
Could you, on that last point there, can you go back to that, please? Is there a liability to the college if we don't collect that? Do we have to pay the state or anything, or we have to make the best effort we can to collect that tuition when the student withdrawals?
We have to make the best effort to collect, but students who do not repay lose their eligibility.
But there's no penalty to the college?
There's no penalty.
Of course, this is a rumor, so this is just projected, is that?
There is.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We pay that.
There's a liability to the state. We have to return the funds for the withdrawn across the state, and it's up to the college to collect. If we don't collect, we're out of funds.
So we do have to return, that's a current, that's not a rumor, that's current?
We have to return that money to the state by June 1 this year.
Thank you.
A question, Michael. How strong is the rumor that you put up there about making this tuition, making this need-based?
I would say it's a strong rumor because when these changes first came into effect, I watched it on TV on Bay News 9. They were talking about that for the future.
Oh. Yes, correct.
Mr. Bennett, you said that right now, if it did move to need-based, 80% of the students would not be affected. Are you saying that 80% of the students now would meet the criteria to be eligible for Bright Futures if it moved to need-based?
Yes. That's just an initial early. In terms of what we're doing about the changes, we sent out almost 1,800 letters and emails to students who received Bright Futures this year who did not file the FAFSA, and also when we received the state eligibility file, all those students will be notified by both email and letters. We've updated our website, the college website, My SPC, and Angel with these changes. We've put together a question and answer piece for students and families. We have for staff a Bright Futures narrated PowerPoint program, and we're working on a Camtasia video for parents and students where they could click on that and have this all explained. Dr. Law mentioned gainful employment, and this is a federal legislative change for the upcoming year.
Wait. So we're shifting here, just, I want to make sure, does any board member have any questions concerning the Bright Futures provision? This is quite significant.
The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. Anyone who's applying for financial aid is encouraged to complete it.
Our teachers are not required. In other words, it was the year required to me.
That is correct.
And now they're just getting rid of it.
Well, what the change is you're right, in the past, they did not require all students to complete the FAFSA. In the upcoming year, they're saying they must.
Good.
I had a conversation with one student in particular, and he quoted me about $900 that was going to affect him personally because of the reduction of Bright Futures Scholarship.
range of the reduction for the upcoming year is between $12 and $16 per credit. So depending on how many credits the student
Sooner
takes.
than taking a full load.
So they would see a reduction.
You know, maybe this is not the exact point to bring it up, but it seems to me that we should be doing something in the way of educating students about taking out student loans. Because just in talking to various students, they say, oh, we can just go take out student loans. And they do it kind of cavalier, not realizing that when they graduate, they're going to have a huge debt to pay that's almost equal maybe to buying a house as a young person, and they can't do both. And I didn't know whether we had any literature or education that we should try to educate the students to use that as a means of last support.
Yeah, we have literature, we have financial aid videos. In the upcoming year, we're going to develop a full suite of services from financial literacy. This would be under the umbrella of loan counseling. We're going to put some services in place for students who are delinquent on their loans, and obviously the ones who are on default. So we're looking at a whole suite in the upcoming year to do just what you just described.
Mr. Johnson, we also have changed the registration screen. So when a student registers for courses and they access their financial aid that's going to apply, it's much clearer now. Well, let me say this, it is clear to the student if they are borrowing money. Previously, I felt like a student could click past this very quickly and not fully understand. They get some scholarship, some grant, but it's on a loan. And now we've made that a lot clearer to the student.
But I've seen a very cavalier attitude. Well, it's okay, we'll just take out student loans.
I'm on your side. I'm very concerned about this.
And also
That's very
parents
scary.
that can afford to send their kids to college, making them take out student loans.
We will be seeing this. This is a very serious problem, I think.
Because I think when the students graduate, especially in today's job market, I don't know how soon that'll turn around, but if they graduate and looking for a job and have these student loans hanging over their head, these are young people, they're going to start families and they want to have a place to live away from their parents, and it just puts a tremendous hardship on a young person.
You know, you owe 50 or 20 grand and you fall in love with somebody who owes 50 or 20 grand.
It doubles it.
Yeah, and then
You got to be careful who you pick.
Is that accounting advice, Mr. Johnson? Dr. Law, this legislative session is starting in January. The committees are starting in September. I saw, is that correct, Dr. Jones? I think the committees are starting in September. With Bright Futures, is your President's Association and is FACC putting together any position papers as far as Bright Futures, and how do we feel about that? I hope you tell us how we feel about it here as a board, because obviously our time to meet with legislators here at home is a very short period of time this year. It's going to be in July and August, and as they come back from committee meetings. So can you tell us where we are on this?
Yeah, I mean, we're literally, as we speak, getting the final bills signed by the governor. I mean, one came out the Friday and that sort of stuff. So we're just finishing and putting this together. Bright Futures is a continuing discussion. Of course, our university friends weigh in heavily. Why don't I see where we are and come back next month and give us some guidance?
Now that we're hearing this, maybe you can tell us where we need to be, because we're going to be seeing legislators at different events where we can start, if we have concerns affecting our students, we can certainly let them know. Maybe you do a one-page bullet point paper for us that we can, if we have concerns that we want addressed.
Mr. Chair,
Especially like this liability to the college, I'm not sure if that will ever, something like that will ever go away, or, I mean, things like that, or, has potential for, as it becomes a bigger problem, a bigger liability to us. Anyway.
Mr. Chair, in the past, we have had meetings one-on-one with our delegation, and maybe this fall would be the time to try to work that out.
Even August.
Or whatever the time fits, where we could re-meet with them
throws off the entire schedule. And we're in the legislative season already, coming up in September, and the lobbying times now. Dr. Jones, is that correct? Am I off on that?
That is correct, and we're going to have our first delegation meeting in August. I'll try and get you the exact date, but it'll be held in Pinellas Park, so the first one. So I recommend that someone from the board make a presentation, as we always do.
Okay. And maybe Candy, if you put that date on our Friday packet, would be appreciated. Okay. Any more questions on this topic? I just want to make sure we cover this before we move on to the gainful employment.
As Dr. Law mentioned, gainful employment, in theory, the rules intended to protect students and taxpayers from programs that overpromise and underdeliver, leaving students saddled with debt and no job to show for it. SPC currently has 50 eligible certificate programs. The good news for students is this is all more disclosure to students that help them make more informed choices about programs and borrowing. Required for July 1, 2011, colleges are required for all those certificate programs to put on the certificate program website the name and U.S. Department of Labor's standard occupational classification, the on-time graduation rate for students completing the certificate program, tuition and fees for the entire time of the program, typical costs for books and supplies, job placement rate, and the median loan debt incurred by students who completed the program. So that's for all 50 programs. How this will be measured, annual loan repayment rate, and what that means is they'll look at the total number of students who completed the program and expect at least 35% to be on time with the repayments of their loan. Another measure is discretionary income threshold, and what that means is you would look at the yearly amount of what the student would repay on their loan, and that can be no greater than 30% of their discretionary income. And the third measure is actual earnings threshold. The loan payment, the monthly loan payment cannot exceed 12% of the annual earnings. So a college would have to satisfy one of those three. If they did not, the first time the program fails to meet the debt measure, it must disclose to students why the measurement didn't occur. The second year, it must inform the students that their debts may be unaffordable after graduation, program is at risk of losing eligibility, and what their existing transfer options are. And after a third failure in 4 years, the certificate program loses eligibility to participate in the federal aid program and cannot reapply for at least 3 years. Under this framework, the first year program to become ineligible would be 2015. New programs, they're requiring that you bring forward a new program 90 days before the start of the program, and when you bring that new program forward, you're going to have to disclose how you determine the need for the program, how the program was designed to meet local market needs, if it's an online program, how it's designed to meet regional or national needs, any wage analysis, how the program was reviewed, approved, developed with business advisory committees, demonstrate that it was approved by or included in school accreditation, provide the date of the first day of class.
So Mr. Bailey, ask a question before you go to the next slide. There's no approval, you just need disclosure. Is that correct?
That's correct. You can move that forward. That's it.
This, folks, it may seem like a lot of work on the college, and it will be. But this is something we should applaud because St. Petersburg College is going to look great in all of this. And this is really to target the for-profits, which have been over-promising students and not delivering, settling them with high costs, and putting them into jobs which basically doesn't equal the cost of your education. So this is something where I know it's onerous for us to comply with, and it probably is. It's something we really want to happen because the public institutions will look good because we do a good job, and these students which have had these horrific stories of high-cost education, high debt, and then getting a job which pays $30,000 a year. This really going to shine on that. Dr. Long, do you have any comments?
No, I think, you know, you know, if you pick any part, and you say, well, why wouldn't we do that anyway? So I think it all makes sense. I haven't followed close enough, but the day this was adopted by the feds 2-3 weeks ago, the value of the for-profit schools, though, their stocks skyrocketed. So they must have gotten what they wanted out of it.
Wow.
So it wasn't as onerous as they thought it was going to be. I think it's all disclosure. You know, we ought to just be true to our students, make sure that they do what we want. But it went, they're
surprising.
up 9 or 12 or 17%, some of them working in colleges. And,
Why?
because they were afraid that it was going to be more onerous, that they would not be able to retain students. So they're still in business. Thank you, Michael.
Good report, Mr. Bailey. Is there a motion to approve B1 and 2? By Mr. Bilirakis, or is there a second?
I have
Any discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
I got questions on B1. When I look at B1 and I look at our progress energy cost, it is scary, and I'm not sure what we can do about it, but it appears that we need to address it in some manner. And I don't know if we just set the thermostats up or what we do. You know, I don't see how we can tolerate and stay within our budget if we keep getting these yearly increases year after year.
Mrs. Ryder, do you care to respond to that? I took my jacket off already, Mrs. Ryder. I'm not going to ask Mrs. White to comment on it. She told me what temperature she keeps her house.
One of the things that we are challenged with as we put newer buildings online and remodeled buildings online is that we are required to meet new standards of ventilation and air turnovers and that type of thing. So to do that, we are faced with some higher energy costs. As you've watched the college go through some of our new facilities, you know that we've gotten a couple of LEED Gold buildings. We're going to have another one coming to you. And part of that, we have put in place very high levels of energy management and control systems for us to be able to manage our energy consumption costs the best that we can. We have a number of older facilities at the college still. We also have a number of portables and things that energy consumption-wise are probably our greatest users of energy. So I think as we progress, we're going to be putting in place absolutely the best that we can as far as our energy consumption costs are concerned. One of the things we may want to do, we did for Dr. Law, was to show you what our overall college-wide energy conservation program, management program is, some of the initiatives as we move forward. That may be something that we can give you an example of in the future. And I think you'll have a better comfort level about what our measures and what we're doing to keep these as low as possible.
Well, as we do more and more expansion and put new buildings in place and more square footage, we're going to have more cost. And I don't know whether we have but I'm sure we do, some kind of conservation program where you turn your temperatures much higher at night when your building's not in use.
We do. We have a very, very extensive energy management control system, a setback for our buildings. We are on it pretty good here at this college. It's one of the things I think that we've got managed as well as anybody else. Actually, we do some training for some of the other colleges in the area.
Well, it's just a scary thought because it appears that if they take their Crystal River plant offline and have to build a new one, they're going to pass those costs on immediately rather than prorate them out over a longer period of time, and that'll just enhance our cost even greater.
Our information from Progress Energy was that we were to see some reduction in our costs over this past spring. And in fact, we have not seen that reduction come forward. And we are looking at a minimal, we hope, of 9% that we can get by with.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for bringing up that topic. We're ready to vote on item B, 1 and 2. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. We'll now move to item C. I have some questions, but I would ask that we put the motion on the floor. Is there a motion to approve items C, 1 through 3? By Mr. Brett and seconded by Mrs. Gillibrand.
I would like to propose an alternate motion on C1, that we not extend that for a full year, we extend it for 6 months.
Can we have a report from the president first, and then see if he concurs, since we go by his recommendations generally? Certainly, it's our right to do whatever, Mr. Johnson. I'm not, but Dr. Long, would you please start that discussion?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. I think we need a deliberate process for reviewing the bookstore services. I know that this institution has had a love-hate relationship that has been close with Paula. I want to be very careful in the bid process for this. There are only 2 or 3 companies large enough nationally to even consider our account. That's how big we are. So I think going forward, making sure we know exactly what we want, where we're headed. I would not let one employee's disgruntlement with the company condition our response. I'm at the disposal of the board, but I do not want to be precipitous with this. You have to also then take on when you make the changeover if you're going to change. And doing that at mid-year is a very difficult proposition. So if we're going to make a change, we'll want to be doing it at this time next year rather than at mid-year. So I think we're agreeing that it is time to review that relationship, having to do it under whatever conditions the board provides.
Mr. Johnston.
Well, my thought process was just to keep our feet to the fire, because this is an issue that we need to strongly address and address it as quick as possible. I know we have a book review committee that's working, and there are a number of other ways to possibly deliver text electronically that are being looked at. And I don't want to come back a year from now and say, let's give them another year to solve it.
I don't think that's the intent of the motion. The intent of the motion is for Dr. Long to work on this, and I'm not defending the administration, but to work on this and to give us a recommendation so that effective next year at this time, we either have accepted a new vendor or we renewing because Follett has provided the best opportunity for us. Is that correct, Dr.
Yes, I know that we had added, I'm looking to check it was in there, that we would bring you a recommendation right after the first of the year so that there's an orderly process for making the change if needed.
Is that?
It's at the end of the first.
Okay. Do you wish to make a amended motion?
No, I would withdraw that then. If we have something coming back here by the first of the year that's positive in another way to address this book cost problem, because all I was trying to do was to say, this is something that we've got to solve in some manner, and I don't have an answer, and I'm sure that we need to work on an answer.
And Mr. Johnson, I want to express my appreciation for your vigilance on this topic. At the same time, I'm not sure if it's a vendor problem. I'm not sure if the Follett's to blame, or which I don't think it is. I think they're a good vendor. And you're probably Barnes & Noble's the other one out there, and I'm not even sure what the third is.
Where's that Barnes & Noble now?
But there's not many who will.
But there are electronic.
There's options.
Appear to be electronic options out there that other schools are working with, and I do Detroit Beach is one of them. And I missed some of those meetings, but I do think this is a very important topic for the subject and the overall cost to the students. And it's something we need to really diligently work on and solve as quick as possible.
And And I think, Mr. Johnson, you've been kind of our point person on this, and I would ask that the college staff continue to work with Mr. Johnson as our board's point person, that's fine with everyone else up here, on this topic as we go along in this process. Mr. Gibbons.
You just said the same thing I was going to say.
Thank you.
I thought he was our board representative for that committee, and hopefully we continue to work with him to get resolution.
So I would appreciate just Mr. Johnson in the process. Mr. Johnson, is this your baby? You're going to be shepherding this next? Okay, so you'll be spending a lot of time with Mr. Johnson, not only on the financial statement, but down the school too.
We're getting tired of it.
I don't think so. Any other discussion on this point or the other two items? Dr. Long, I just appreciate the WorkNet is something this board has heard about ever since we've been on, those of us who've been 12 years, and Mr. Brad, Mr. Gibbons, a short time, but still it's been something that always touches us, but we really, probably don't have a full comprehension of the college's involvement with the WorkNet. I know you sit on that board. I'm not even sure what's all involved there, and so I'd appreciate if you would touch that topic here, and I'm going to ask you to touch the topic, since it's related, of item I, the Workforce Florida, with our Tech Data Initiative, because they're probably related in some way.
They're close to the WorkNet. Pinellas is, of course, the umbrella organization that the federal flow-through funds make their way to us through that form. They come through the state, generally Workforce Florida, which board I also sit on. They've rearranged some of the deck chairs at the governor's level, but the Workforce Florida piece is still essentially intact. So all the federal flow-through funds that support workforce development, state funds that support workforce development, come through local boards, and they're prescribed membership. This is a huge board. Mr. Gibbons, I think you were on it. You might have 30 or 40 members, okay, and it has private sector to us. Largely, it is how the monies flow to us in support of our work with local employers. So you see us with a number of grants that come through. We'll work with employers, identify their needs, make the application to WorkNet Pinellas, and then the board makes those distributions to us. I sit on that board. I think it's a very important part to understand where the monies are going in our community, who else is getting training dollars. I mean, to be perfectly honest, in Pinellas County, the private providers are ahead of us in that game. We have not had enough products to present. But all of these certificates you see will make us more competitive for the very kinds of grants that come through. We've not had those in the past.
Are you there some of those private providers who are really getting that?
BizTech, I'm trying to think, there's some folks up in Palm Harbor who have a health-related program. I'm trying to think of the name of those companies. But you see all the airport, the aviation people. So again, the proprietary schools that have a niche market, put together a training plan, work with the business, and get money. Millions upon millions of dollars work through. Millions and millions of dollars. So we're getting ours. Let me shift. I'm very proud, though, some of the additional effort that we put in is starting to pay. I think, we can certainly declare victory. We have a huge grant that we're getting for the first time. Later on, you mentioned that it is with Tech Data, largest grant the college has ever received through WorkNet Pinellas. They get the money, so we do a lot of the work. We hope we'll get more of the training contract, but provided the employer makes that choice, we will monitor the contract and then we get $80,000 or $90,000.
Can you help me understand that the other board members may have understood? The money goes to Tech Data. Tech Data engages us to do the training, and then they pay us. Is that how this works?
We would hope. Working closely with a partner, you would expect that when they get the money in their hand, they'll turn around and contract with us. That's not a requirement. We can't mandate that. The money, they can use anybody they want. Shame on us if that we partner with them, we can't get the training, but it wouldn't be the first time that happened.
Is this our first training relationship with Tech Data? It's the first one I recall seeing in my board packet.
I think so. This is a big deal. If I recall, this is almost $900,000. Is that what it is? It's a huge grant.
Does it come through corporate training?
Yes, it is. It's in our memo.
I would hope that Jim's folks are doing. Stan is Michael. Stan couldn't be with us today. Stan did it.
Mr. Gibbons.
Mr. Conley's here. Dr. Conley's here. He could answer maybe.
Well, let's get that answer first of all from Mr. Johnson. Mr. Conley, you going to speak on this topic? Then we'll get you to speak. Mr. Gibbons?
I think Dr. Long is exactly right. This is like the first time that the college has had an opportunity like this. Number one. Number two is that I've been down on WorkNet, as he can tell you, for a while, because I feel like the community college should be the vehicle for training and getting people back into the workforce a little bit faster than anybody else. While the money flows to WorkNet, they have not included the community college. In a lot of counties they do. For example, down in Fort Pierce, where
Indian River Community College.
They've done a very good job of that, and they've made sure they work with the local workforce board. Tampa, in some cases, has done a better job than we have, Hillsborough County. But I just believe, and I said this, I'm not on the record, I said it to the speaker the other day with Dr. Lawhead, but I've always felt like a portion of that money, if not all of it, should come to the community college first. Because we have to meet the needs of everybody in the community. From K through 12, we have to provide a certain level of support to people who are being laid off, they come back to college. There are all kinds of ancillary programs, I believe, that could have been gained by the college or help individuals who are in need by the college better than anybody else. So, yes, and Dr. Law is very correct. For years, the biz techs, the Concord, whoever else is our competition have been coming, and they have consistently gotten grants from WorkNet Pinellas, which I thought was, by the way they recruit and how they get people in and the whole 9 yards, I'm not sure if they're the best vehicle for training folks to get back to the workforce. So that's just kind of a status of where we are.
Appreciate your inside view, Mr. Jones.
Dr. Law, doesn't this really stem back to the spin-off of the community colleges from the school board in, 1968, where some maintained workforce and others didn't, and this particular college chose not to get involved in workforce?
I think you could go back that far.
Well, we're about workforce, not that type of work.
Over time, though, the nature of that middle ground is, in those days, life was a little more definable. You did shade tree mechanics, and you did college English, okay? And now it's a very complex field. We heard Phil talking about electronic medical records. Some of that is curriculum-based. When we talk about a training opportunity, though, all those doctors' offices, they just want to know who's going to teach us to do it. So I think you're seeing us meet a new need, Mr. Johnson. But we've got to be more proactive.
That's what that word is saying.
I would say, does it go back to that? And Senator Jones may correct me on this, but I think it goes back to the disbursement of the Department of Labor. And out of that, trying to find a way to get folks, that people felt like local workforce boards could get people back to work faster than having a huge Department of Labor at the state level and a secretary with very defined
and this is a federally mandated program.
Yeah, this is a federally mandated program. So I think when they got rid of the Department of Labor, people thought that at the local level, if they had somebody kind of guiding the ship, they could get people back to work a little bit faster. But what I'm seeing is, I hate to say it, is in a lot of these counties, you're seeing a lot of corruption, you're seeing a lot of people who don't know the community, they're hiring folks from outside of the communities who really have to get acclimated over time. It takes a very long time for them to understand. They're not, some of these counties haven't even done studies to say what are their emerging industries. So I think it's a fallout from what happened in the department. I think maybe we should have kept the labor secretary, I don't know. But.
Obviously, this is of interest to the board.
Yeah.
And I want to compliment Jim and Stan, and I certainly it's an area of interest to me, and I think our interest is starting to pay dividends at the moment.
Any further questions? Seeing none, let's move to a vote on item C, 1 through 3. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve all of item D, and then we can have some questions? Second. Motion's been made by Mr. Gibbons and seconded by Mr. Johnston. I just would ask that, Mr. Brock, I was excited to see a grant request here for community-based violence prevention, and specifically a partnership with the city of St. Petersburg. Would you care to comment, tell us how this this came about, because this is a different grant for us, I believe.
And it's a spinoff of what we're doing this
We can hear you
summer.
from there.
From this summer, we felt it was such a good opportunity that we partnered with them, made application. St. Pete's going to be the lead, and hopefully this will be funded for the next 3 years of doing a similar and enhanced program as we're doing this summer with the I-Corps. Again, Herb Polson, intimately involved, the mayor, Dr. Law, all very much involved. So we are hopeful for funding for the next 3 years.
Can you tell us how this will work if we do receive this grant?
We will be the facilitator and create the training, create the opportunities in partnership with St. Pete. They run it through the City Recreation Department, again, a partnership with JWB. So it's JWB, the city, we will bring in the county school board through the Magnet School, Criminal Justice Magnet School, and we will host it at the Allstate Center. And again, our real desire is to track these kids and those who have an interest to engage them throughout the entire year. That's a little bigger picture that we're going to continue to work on.
And how do the kids get involved with this program?
Hopefully it will be a privilege for them. This summer, if it goes as planned, and if the first day was any indication, they will be very interested and excited to be involved. Those who perform very well throughout the year, through the school, through the recreation programs, will have the opportunity to engage in the summer in this privilege, if you will.
What age bracket children are we talking about?
Primarily, these are 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And this is a brand new initiative, correct, on
Yes.
our part? This is just wonderful. Especially, we talked about the response to how the college can contribute to the response of what's happened this past year. This is a very tangible item. Any other questions on this topic? My hat's off to the college for doing this. Any other questions on any of these items that we have as far as grants under D? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. I know one's review here. Can we take E 1 through 7 and also the new number 9? And then we can have some discussion on that. Mr. Gibbons and seconded by Mr. Brett. Let's have the presentation on the CIP by Mrs. Weiler. And if you can stay there after this presentation, we'll vote on this, then we'll go to the review, okay?
Okay.
Do we have a PowerPoint presentation?
We do have a part.
Kim, will you move the, so this thing is lined up?
That's okay, we can see it up here. We'll just turn it on. We're ready.
The draft of the CIP that is in your packet today is really the basis for this slideshow that we're going to show you today. And what we intended to do here in discussion with Dr. Law and I was to give you an overview of what is on here so that you can see that we've got something for each site or each campus on this list.
Let me put it in context here. Every year, by August 1st, the college must submit to the state a capital improvement plan. What we would like to see occur over the next 5 years. We have some additional work to do next year to sort of recalibrate our plan. But every year we send in our list. The board, our list should reflect the board's guidance and leadership as to where we are spending and where we are requesting money in the immediate future over the next 5 years, next year in particular. So Susan, thank you. Please.
So what we did is to look at each one of our sites and to talk about and put on the list here, in one of the years at least, our major concerns and requests for that site. So at Allstate, we have been dealing with a very antiquated chiller plant on that site, and so you'll see a request for about $2.5 million on here to replace that plant. We also have some other engineering processes in place. We may be able to address that. Bay Pines, this is the construction of some labs and classrooms for marine science programs on that site. That's been on the list for a couple of years, and it's an exciting project. As you know, the city of Seminole annexed this property a couple of years ago.
Let me take a second. That has been on the list for a number of years. There are some new ownership in some of the properties there across the, I don't know.
Across Bay Pines Boulevard,
is that what
where
that
the,
is? There's a whole range of new interests down there, with the city of Seminole having annexed that. I think there's a great opportunity for us to do some thinking for an extended learning, an opportunity to do some hands-on science in the marine sciences area. So we've moved that up the list a little bit in the hopes that we can pursue some planning money for that particular project.
The plan for that used to be a 514 unit mobile home park, Bay Pines Mobile Home Park. And it's to, which was owned by the Bickley Trust and sold to, for $30 million.
Yeah, top of the market.
And then it has just recently resold, I think, for $6 or $7 million. But it's going to be a multiple use, possibly a hotel. The city is running a hotel as part of the development. And Jim Oliver, where did he go? Is he here still? Yeah. There is a potential, the city's asking the developer to make sure they put a hotel, that they put some professional, some retail, and then mainly residential in there. So it's going to be a wonderful site across from our site there, and really be a really step up from a mobile home park.
and we have an upcoming meeting with Frank Edmonds, the city manager in Seminole. We've had some conversation about this, but we're going to take it to the next step, not exactly what you brought up right there. Clearwater campus, as you know, we are under construction with the student support services building, our new classroom building. So we put on the list the construction of a new student support services building and administration building, construction of a new library and site improvements, and renovation, remodeling of a site infrastructure upgrades, which will complete the underground chill water loop on that site.
Hold on, I need to speak as things come by us. The library building is potentially the biggest facilities challenge we have at the college. That building is the oldest. It is, I want to be careful that I don't shoot myself in the foot, but we are on borrowed time on that, and of course replacing it is a very big undertaking. So we have moved that to the front of the list. If you ask me, the two most important replacement items, this would be one, and we will come to the student services building on the St. Pete Kids campus. But I'm nervous that we could find ourselves not able to use this library building at some point. We're put some money in and we're keeping it together, but it stays or not.
And not only is it in bad condition, and certainly libraries now have to serve a totally different function than what this was built for. It's also its placement on the campus is not in the correct place.
Right.
I mean, this is not something I came up with. It's very apparent it's not in the right place.
Right.
So I hope all that gets looked at, because it becomes a learning center and all that, and it's not the learning center. It's
Right.
in an awkward spot there.
We have an opportunity to relook at our master plan for that site. We're under process doing that right now. And of course, we've acquired the property where the church is, which is adjacent. So it really does present us with some other opportunities. We've had some discussion in the past with the city of Clearwater about a joint use library. So, whether that plays into it or not. But we do have some other exciting possibilities.
And on that, Susan, I mean, Dr. Hall, we have a leader here, Dr. Hall, there may be new thinking on that and from the city. I know they've always been resistant to that idea for some reason. They say they like it, they don't do anything to make it happen. But maybe this is a different time?
I met with the city manager within the last month or 6 weeks, and we kind of promised to get all the players back in the room to see what the interest might still be to do something along those lines. So it was a very positive meeting without any commitments on either side. Thank you.
This is the downtown center. You know, we're moving forward to complete some classrooms on the 3rd floor, lab on the 4th floor for the beginning of classes. This lines up the remainder of the renovation and remodeling to the 4-story building and for some space in the newer 5-story building. Specifically, the food service and bookstore, which would be right in that front area across from Williams Park, which essentially now is blocked out windows. It's on the list for the downtown center. The epicenter, we really don't have any major.
The idea there is that it won't be because of college thing, right? People can go and use.
The requirement of the city, since that's in a redevelopment district, is that we put some type of a retail in that space. So yes, you could come into the front door and you could go right into the food service and the bookstore right there. Epicenter, we don't have any projects really contemplated. This is a health education center. A couple of things on here. When we open up the new veterinary technology building, which will be open for classes in August, we will then move forward to demolish the old vet tech building and put some parking places in there. And then, of course, we have the new acquisition, which was the former JWB building right down the street from here. And we have on the 1st floor NUHS in there at the moment, occupying some of that space. So we have put a number on the remodeling or renovation for the remainder of the space. We've done a little bit of work with Dr. Nicotera and the architect to try and program what would go into that building.
That seems like excessively high. How much is that per square foot of renovation to the JWB building?
I'd have to go back and look at the budget, but, you know, like $100 a square foot or $125 a square foot. But just factor through if we completely gutted and redid the entire building, because we don't know what the scope of work is. I didn't want to associate a low number, and then once we finalize the scope, and we realize we need more funding. We anticipate that number to go down as we move forward with the project, but we have to ask for the maximum.
Is there the AC to the building? Is that with a whole new system figured into this?
That, if we gutted the entire building and started over, if we gutted the entire building and started over, that's what that would cover. We don't anticipate that being the need, but without knowing all of the new programs going in there, if there's heavy in the science.
This is the worst case scenario, in other words?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And the building has to be up to code. We do have to replace the the chiller, and we have to bring it all up to safety and life code, which it presently is not for educational purposes.
Susan, can you go back for a second to downtown center, and you were talking about the city restrictions on putting in retail space?
Yes.
Can we ask for an exemption from that and use that for student facilities?
Well, I think, Dr. Law, you can respond to this. I don't think Yvonne is here today, but I think with the remainder of the build-out on the 3rd floor, with the additional classrooms that we're adding, with the science labs that we're putting in there, with the reworking of the student support services space, and the fact that we still have the former FIM space on the 1st floor that we haven't addressed, that we will be in good shape for academic space for the foreseeable future.
Right, but to follow through with what the city wants, they want some kind of open retail on all the ground floors. And to commit ourselves to that, there ought to be an exemption for an educational institution not to have to follow.
I think the college has a desire to have some food service at that site also for our students and our staff, and we need to find a place to put some small type of bookstore. So I don't see that.
Okay, that's our direction then. Okay.
Right, it's really ours, and it is, what happens is we get our needs taken care of, and we fulfill the cities at the same time.
Susan, is there any opportunity to share the chiller? It's between facilities, some of these places?
The distance is too far from the new Health Education Center annex to the existing Health Education Center, but it's a great question because the existing, at the epicenter, the existing JWB building, we actually provide their chill water off the chiller that is at the services building.
No, I asked that question because I know all children in USF share.
Right. HCC shares one with some retail spaces downtown. And we would absolutely do that if our facilities are close enough to do that. Yeah, there's a good energy saving. This is the Midtown Center. We've had some conversation about this. We were working on the site acquisition right now. We've done some work on a 45,000 square foot approximately student services building, classroom building on this site. We've laid the building out, we've looked at the parking. So that is about a $14 million project sitting right there that you'll see on the list.
You have no acquisition land cost in here. That's assuming the city is going to contribute the land to us?
Yes, our present knowledge, as of yesterday, was that the city is in the process of putting the mechanics in place in order to transition that property over to us. They have to have the city pass an ordinance that said that a portion of the property would be used for housing. So the city's going to put a mechanism in place where they go back to council and change that, and then they will give us that property for a nominal amount annually. The Johnny Louis Clark Hospital pays $1 a year right now, so we would anticipate something similar to that. For them to
Do we visualize any direct tie-in to use of the Johnny Clark facility just south of it?
Well, about a week and a half ago, Michael and I went down and met with Pat Mabee and the two of their other administrative staff and went over our project with them. Because the project will have some impacts on their parking and their site, and we're putting a 3-story building next to a 2.5-story building, that type of thing. So we went through all of those processes and talked to them about it. They're extremely excited about it, extremely excited. They asked us if we would help them deal with their signage. They wanted to know, one of their problems was the retention pond that they have to maintain. So we agreed that we would maintain the retention pond for them. We have security. We would help them with that. Very, very excited about working with us. We have some joint facilities that they may be able to use. I think that the health center here has some partnerships already with them. So that was very, very positive. I asked if their director of facilities would be willing to sit on our selection committee for architects. We've got an RFQ out right now. We put a selection committee in place, and they are very excited about having him work with us on that. So we're moving forward. Everything that we have seen to this point is extremely positive.
Do we have enough funds set aside in here to do that project?
We have none. Well, it's in the basket after this.
I know. We have enough for land acquisition.
I guess my question is, you have in here new construction projects described, that if FICO funds come available, I guess we'll have to get them from, but are these numbers enough to do what you're planning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, we've also learned the Speaker of the House and the Lieutenant Governor about this, and they're both excited about helping us get funds from the legislature if we need to, maybe not this legislative session, but down the road when we're ready to go through.
Excellent. We need to get it on our list. We need to lobby hard for planning money. We need to get the ball rolling. So that's why it is here today, so that you will adopt it and put it on our list going forward in your priority next list. So I think
Well, I think we just need to buy Mr. Gibbons a plane ticket once in a while and send him up there and let him work this hard for us. Amen.
That's very good.
I think Lake Wales.
Well, I mean, you all know how to do this process, and that's what I'm saying, that it really needs to be done.
Mrs. Ryder, is that the last year's slide?
We have just a small expansion at the fire training center down the street here. We've had the books here for a while, so I think we'll go ahead and get that on the list and get that done. We've got a small science lab addition at the Seminole campus that we're going to be putting on a list, and of course the remodeling renovation of the library there, for which we have some existing funds we're asking for some additional funds. This is the building on the St. Pete Gibbs campus, the Student Services Classroom building. You've seen this before. This gets it on our CIP.
Remind me, which would this be going, where would this be going?
This is going to be going right on the corner of 66th Street and Fifth
Okay, I'm
Avenue.
sorry, this is the new, okay, I'm sorry.
Right, this is the new. Tarpon Springs, we have a request to construct 2 science labs adjacent to the existing science building. And then we always have the general renovation remodeling money that we ask for. This was the only thing that was funded this past year for all the colleges except a few. There's they ask us to put the Facilities Enhancement Challenge grants on the CIP list every year. We haven't received any money for those for a number of years. Nobody has. But you'll see them on the draft CIP that's attached here. That's why they're up here. Here is the projects we just went over, the priority listing, and then the year that you will see them ask for on that CIP too that's attached to your memo there.
Any questions from Mrs. Ryder?
I don't have a question for Ms. Ryder. Thanks for your excellent job. I do have a question of Senator Jones, though. Senator Jones, I was just asking Dr. Law, we haven't even tapped into what used to be called mitigation grants. Remember where some counties were using the DCA money to build buildings as long as they were provided as hurricane shelters also? Is that still a possibility in some cases? Because some of our buildings are on the west side of the county, and I know they're always looking for shelter, real hurricane hardy facilities. Is that still a possibility at the legislature or no?
It would be a possibility. We'd have to approach it with the new governor, and as of this week, I guess he'll have a new chief of staff, so we'll have to go from there. But Senator Pisano was relatively successful in Pasco County, so I'm not saying we couldn't do it. We just need to start from scratch. So maybe I ought to send you and I up there a couple extra times.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great suggestion. Especially Seminole campus is a high campus as far as elevation.
Well, and also, Mr. Chair, we never have, it seems like on the west side of the county, it's so hard to get to the hurricane evacuation route that if you build a facility that it would be handicap accessible and for folks who have pets and those types of things, they want to make sure they have those. In rural counties, I know in Pasco, Senator Pisano, like Senator Jones said, it was successful, but a lot of rural counties, they think.
Well, good idea, good idea.
Any other questions on Mrs. Ryder's report? Let's move to a vote then. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, please handle item 8. Is there a motion to approve D8 and then we'll have a report from Mrs. Ryder? Please put out there to discuss it. By Mr. Brad, second by Mr. Johnston. Mrs. Ryder.
We have a slide for this. Final guaranteed maximum price for the modulars at the Seminole campus. You've seen this before. We're going to put 6 modulars in that location. And right there. And actually, there's a breakdown of them. And actually, we're working on them now since you've approved the preliminary GMP. They're in place. The utilities, underground utilities and everything is being put in place. The modulars will be delivered to the site, hooked up. Furniture's been ordered, and they will be ready for classes in August.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Ryder? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve all items F and G? And obviously on G, we're going to have the president give a report, but I'd like to get a motion on that.
So moved.
By Mr. Gibbons, is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Grant. F, all of F, and all of G. Does anyone have a question on the agency building personnel report or annual contract recommendation? Because we're going to have a presentation on items to bring forward. We'll hold off on questions on those. Any questions on those items?
Well, I just wanted to clarify again,
which item we talking about?
on the personnel matters. I talked to Ms. Susan.
Which one? One or two?
On the ones dealing with the annual contract, and she said, again, I have no conflict of interest in voting on this.
Very good.
I just wanted to be sure that goes on the record.
That's on G2. Or I guess any of these.
Any of these,
Okay.
and the personnel,
Okay.
it's 2, 3, and 4, I guess, all.
Will you please note that in the minutes, Kim, that Mr. Johnston got an opinion from our attorney and that he has no conflict and can vote on this topic. Mr. President, this is a very exciting report that we are looking forward to. And I want to, even before you even give the report, compliment you, compliment the faculty for the cooperativeness. I know this is something that you have expressed as a big priority to accomplish so many things, work your way through the salary schedule, have a plan which there's buy-in from faculty and from that the college thinks is fair also. And I know this has been a hard labor to get to this point, a cooperative labor, but hard labor. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of the board to everyone for your efforts in this regard. This is a tremendous accomplishment, us voting on this today. And it's something which I think will, you don't see happening. I mean, across the nation, faculty and I guess management, it's a natural collision at times. And at this college, and especially with your leadership here, Dr. Law, you've made a situation where we're working together. And that's the way it should be. I mean, this is a model agreement, and Dr. Law, we're looking forward to the presentation and to the faculty's involvement in the presentation.
Thanks very much. Maureen Mahoney and I shared this, but certainly the FGL leadership was part of it. We had a group of, I forget how many, about 20 faculty and key staff to, all items were subject to us. We didn't start with anything except let's talk about faculty compensation. Where we've been, where do we want to go, what are the game plans, what's in our way. And the committee met 5 or 6 times at some length, 2 or 3 hours at a clip. People made it a priority. People were very diligent about their participation and working between meetings. Faculty took a great deal of effort and energy to explore any number of models across Florida and nationally where we could steal some good ideas for moving forward. Let me see if I can paint a little bit of a picture, though. I'm going to pass out just so you can see from the fact book. I want to be really careful with numbers because even as we move forward, we're changing some of these. But if you look at the data, our faculty, and again, this is standard contract data. It is not extra earnings, which is a very important part of our discussion and those sorts of things. But if you just say, where are we? The fact of the matter is, at the doctoral level, we're 5th in the state. But at master's and master's plus, we find ourselves fully at mid-range, 10th or 12th. The reality is you don't move very quickly in this because it's a fairly static analysis. People come and go and everything else. But if you look at us, we're actually just at or just below the average salaries in those areas. These are key areas where we hire. I think if everybody would just step back a little bit, we don't want a faculty salary schedule that puts us in the middle of the pack. We want to be toward the top echelon of the pack in every case. So that's the underlying issue. How can we move that? Some of it's historical, what has happened over the past several years, and as the college has struggled with financial matters, but 27 other colleges have struggled with financial matters too. And how do we address those and what has taken place? What's the structure that we're going to use? Faculty were concerned that there be much higher level of certitude for them. They understand you can't get to 100% certitude, but they have to understand what is our commitment going forward, how will it work. Secondly, they want to move through a process, so they want to, when they come in, they want to be able to know that they're moving toward the top echelon of the salary scale. There are some other parts that we talked about. Over time, in lieu of pay raises, we have waived the existing board rule for maximum teaching loads. I think that's one of those red flags that you ought to be careful about. There's a reason for that board rule. We have many faculty who could teach beyond that, but I think as a board and as a college, you should say, here's the standard that we believe is the healthiest standard for all concerned. When you're waiving that rule, you should be careful. And I will tell you, my biggest goal for faculty is sort of recalibrate everybody. That happened again in 2007, Doug, is that the year?
We made the adjustment in
2005. But since 2005, there have been a lot of different, some years we gave raises, some years we didn't give raises, we gave bonuses in lieu of raises, those sorts of things. Meanwhile, we're hiring people from the outside. It was very hard to discern what the policies were. So all those items were fully vetted by the system. What we ended up deciding was that we had a matrix in place. We have a faculty who are hired at the college. We assess all of their prior experience on a variety of factors, and we give them a point system. That we could go way more than you want to know, but that's what happens. In the past, wherever that puts you on this matrix by points was where you landed. So we would bring people in brand new to the college, and they would land above existing faculty because they may have had different long-term experiences away from the college. This year, for the first time, we said we're going to have a hiring range. We're not going to do that. We're going to stop at some point. You can get up to 10% above the base, but that's all we're going to recognize. So that existing faculty, I mean, I think it's grossly unfair for a faculty member to be here for 8, 10, 12 years, and the new person shows up and makes more money. And that was the policy we had, and I don't think that's a So this matrix system, we've cleaned it up, we've strengthened it, and what we'll do is let faculty move through the matrix. It will be low to high. When we award raises, you move to a higher level within the matrix so that it meets a faculty need to move toward the top of a scale. We have an existing scale that faculty can measure. We'll do this over a period of time so that we can recognize, we can move people deliberately over the next 2 or 3 years without breaking the bank, but at the same time moving through. So as we move people through, we will reestablish the teaching limits. So as you earn a little bit more, as we sweeten the faculty matrix, we will then reestablish over the next 3 years that you must come back within the existing board guidelines for maximum teaching load. So faculty members will not suffer financially by the reinstitution of the board rules. For instance, if we didn't do it that way and we said we're going to reimpose, people would actually earn less money next year. They would teach less, but they would earn less. And, you know, in these tough times, that's not that we all use the same air. You know, people have to earn money. That's where it goes. So I think as we work through this, we could recognize longevity, make sure that any historical concerns about where faculty got left behind as new faculty came in. We could provide some additional certainty over the next 2 or 3 years, short of a guarantee, but certainly my commitment. We could buy back, put a little more money in, but reestablish the board guidelines And very important to a number of faculty was that faculty could move through this matrix and work toward the top.
Which has been a frustrating point.
So in the end, we were able to craft a plan that allowed for all of those things to happen for what I think are relatively modest additional increases over the next 3 years. Faculty members would get, depends on how long you've been with us, about 2% or 4% in addition to whatever raises we award. And we have a plan as to how we would execute that. We then know when we reestablish the maximums. And I think it gives everybody a much, I'll finish it, I'm sorry. There's a lot of moving parts.
This is important.
This is how the very best institutions in America have built their faculty. We have a great faculty, please. It's not pay a few more dollars and then we'll have a great faculty. That's not the case. But the opportunity for us, we are hiring, we are growing. Our national reputation is there. You know, University of California built its faculty in the 60s because they had money when others didn't, and they committed it to faculty. The University of Texas built its faculty in the 90s because they had money when nobody else did, and they recruited nationally and attracted. And I think we find ourselves in that situation. We are a national focused institution. When we hire faculty, we want to attract the very best nationally. To the extent that we can raise everybody's confidence regarding a logical, sustainable compensation system, I think we answer questions before they're asked. Faculty have been very patient working through these issues. It's very personal, and to the credit of our faculty, they were able to put those things in the box while they worked on the policy. I'm very, very proud of the faculty's work on this particular project. Here's the bottom line. Over 3 years, we would make slight increases, 2 or 4%, would allow us to achieve a variety of goals, but we would have a sustainable faculty salary system that everybody understands, everybody can describe, and I think gives us a very sound basis for future recruits.
Thank you, Dr. Law, for that presentation. We have the Faculty Senate leader here, Dr. Mahoney. Please, certainly, I think the board would appreciate your comments here at this time. If you feel comfortable giving them there, that's fine.
Thank you, sir. I believe that, of course, with Dr. Law's permission, we were able to put together this compensation committee, and I know a lot of our fellow compensation committee members are here today. I think, as Dr. Law stated, we did a lot of work all together. The collaborative effort, as I said before, was just amazing. It was a lot of work. There was a lot of discussion, but I think we came up with a great plan that is, I said it before, is fair, equitable, and from what I can see, financially feasible over this 3-year plan. And I think that faculty is going to be extremely happy with this plan. I think it's a great idea and is a really good idea, not just for the existing faculty, but as Dr. Law said, for future faculty coming in. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Dr. Mahoney, for those comments. Is there anyone else from the faculty, especially those who served on the compensation committee, would like to make a comment? Surely welcome to. Yes, George. Good to see you here at our meeting. We miss you.
I think the level of transparency that we saw in this process was far above anything I've seen since I've been here at St. Petersburg College. And I really want to commend Dr. Law about that. There was absolutely everything was above board, and everybody had the opportunity to put input into it.
Thank you, sir. Any other faculty care to comment? We certainly appreciate your attendance here. Before we go towards questioning, I just want to make sure we stay on the right level here. It's your job, Dr. Law, to give us your recommendation. There's a presumption that your recommendation's the best one out there. That's what board members should do. And our job is to, I'm giving this admonishment to me as much as anyone else because I'm usually guilty of this, but our job is policy, and your job is to recommend policy to us. And so we'll stay away from the details of this plan. That's your job to come up with the details, but the overall objectives is to accomplish those goals which you set. And if that policy, if the matrix makes that happen, then I, as a board member, am fully supportive. And questions at this time? Mr. Gibbons, I think you had the first question.
Yeah, I'm a little upset about this because I'll go across the board here, and we're below Tallahassee Community College. So whatever we need to do to be above Tallahassee, let's get it done.
I'm with you.
We're also under some too that I wouldn't have thought of, like Valencia and,
Yeah, it's interesting.
it is an interest, matrix here of where we are. This is where we are for the 09-10.
That's the most recent, with the new ones that come out in the fall.
And when we're done with this, where do you think that's going to put us in a matrix like this?
Now, I want to, this is, you see me smile, this is where I want to be careful. I'm glad we have, as we're going to do two things, it's very positive. Existing faculty are going to move through and get higher salaries. That should raise the average. As they retire and we hire at entry steps, that will lower the average. So I think we'll come up with a more descriptive matrix. You see what happens, okay? If 10 of our top
retire,
and we hire 10 at the bottom at lower rate, same number of faculty,
right?
Except that the average has gone down now. Okay,
But there's a reason for that.
Yeah, but it won't bad on a chart like this.
Well, it won't look good on the chart, but there is an always basis for it, which is acceptable.
Let me say this though.
Fairness of the plans.
There's a reason Indian River is at the top of the chart. They have had a discernible, supported faculty salary compensation plan over a long period of time. President Ed Massey is this, and it's not flashy. Time value of money. I think Ed Massey told me one time when I asked him, even in good years, how much are you going to do? He said, we do 3% a year, no matter what. So in good years, bad years, they're always on the upswing. And we end up, after 18 or 20 years, at the top of the range. What I want to do, though, is we'll develop some metrics that give us a better sense of how our existing faculty are doing this. But there's no question putting money into the schedule and getting it to the existing people is what we really need to be focused on here. In the past, it was, I just find that whole thing, I'll speak a little out of turn, I think it's craziness in a buyer's market like we're in to bring faculty in whose names we don't even know until we meet them for the first time, and then pay them above our existing faculty, and then tell our existing faculty we don't have money for raises. I don't get it. I'm not unwilling to say those sentences in sequence. So what we've done is recognize it's a buyer's market. We can be highly competitive. When you come to the opening for faculty and you see who we've attracted, you would be just as proud as you are with our current faculty. But we limited how much we would pay at the front door. The existing resources now can be redeployed to existing faculty.
Well, I like the fact that you more or less told us that we're going to be on a range with the University of Texas and California.
Yeah, he never said that.
Well, California's catching up.
Yeah, going the wrong way. Mr. Grant, do you have any comments or questions on this?
I would like to commend Dr. Law and the leadership of the faculty. I've had some conversations with Dr. Law about this as he has worked through this, and I know it's been a little bit of a moving target, and it feels like the end result is very, very good. I want to make 2 points in the multi-page report we've got. First key concept on the last page here of the draft says the president will pledge his best energies to increase faculty compensation by 3% each year for the next 3 years. And that obviously is the goal. And I think that's a great goal. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Back on page 2 here, middle of the page, to achieve the 4 goals, you're going to try to do an additional 2 to 4%.
Yes.
That's our catch-up.
Yes.
That catch-up is not going to be board approved. Is that correct?
You are approving that concept today with this plan.
we're including a number that we don't really know what it is, but we're leaving it to your, as you like you say, good offices to figure out.
I'm embarrassed, we know that number.
Okay.
Just didn't have it in front of me.
I think it's great. Fantastic.
Can we provide that number in our Friday packet? That's fine.
Yes, we'll give you the.
Well, we just do that.
Trust me, we got that number.
Can we as a board do that without knowing,
It's in the budget.
I mean, where our next funding
This is our,
source?
because this is our plan, and then we'll, go ahead, Mr. Law.
I'm just sorry,
Dr. Law.
those funds are already in the budget, okay? So you have approved a budget that includes enough revenue to execute this plan for the next year, okay? You are now, we just need to make sure when we cut contracts, the auditor says, how did you come up with this amount, and you will then approve the plan for us to execute.
I think the reality of this, though, is the board, by virtue of approving a budget, and in answer to your question, Mr. Grant, when we get to the 12-13 budget, it's kind of like the appropriations bill of the legislature. It overrides statute. It becomes statute by virtue of passing the appropriations bill. Even if the law says you should fund this, if the appropriation bill doesn't fund it, then the appropriation bill overrides it. If we get into a dire strait, and in 12-13, although this commitment is here, and we obviously, just like the legislature, pass a law binding us in the future, it's still the budget which funds it. And if we don't fund it, that's the board's mechanism to renege on this. You know, it's certainly, though, not our, in this board's intention, I think, to renege it unless there was some catastrophic thing that happened to not allow these funds to take place. But just like the appropriations bill overrides statute, our budget overrides some of the items we pass. Would that be a fair assessment, Mr. Lang? And
I think so, Mr. Chair.
I mean,
But I think it's a good explanation, because it kind of answers my questions too, because if the state doesn't, for some reason, fund us in a way that we can do this, then
you're right.
we honestly can't do it.
The budget overrides the thing we vote on here.
It reminds me of the article, I guess was in yesterday's paper, about the universities having to look outside for additional sources. And that's something that we need to do as an institution, is find out what we have that's available to and marketable, that we can draw additional sources of revenue, because we're getting slowly weaned off state funding, which what appears to me, and putting more of the emphasis back on the student.
This is Bill Arrakis. Good comment. This is Bill Arrakis. Any comments on the salary schedule?
I agree with everything that was done. I commend Dr. Lorna and the faculty. Now I hope they're all happy.
We do too. Any further discussion? Mr. Gibbons, did you have anything further? Okay, let's move to a vote then, since we already have a motion on the floor to approve items F and G. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. We'll now move into the public hearing. Are there any comments from the public on any of these items? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Is there a motion to approve item H?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Johnson made the motion, Mr. Billeracki seconded. I want to thank especially the president for his work on and the attorneys for the naming of the college facilities. I think it's very important we get this into board rules, so it's not haphazard. It's something future boards can look at, but we're not here and say, here's a hard set of rules, which they can change if they don't like. But it's a guiding policy rather than just the policy we currently have. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The public hearing is now adjourned. We will now have our financial report update. Dr. Law, would you like to introduce on this?
I will filibuster until it comes up. We are obviously closing in at the end of the year. Doug, give me some charts and numbers here. Go ahead.
I've been telling you for a couple of months now that you would eventually start to see that surplus number drop, and that's exactly what we saw this month, quite substantially. You can see us narrowing the gap. We expect that to continue next month. I want to kind of show you why that happened this month. I love these kind of charts, but they're hard to figure out. But this is just a trend of our revenue and our expense and our surplus. Basically, our surplus fell $7 million from 18 million to 11 million month over month. Most of that occurred because, number one, our expense went up significantly. We paid off about $4.5 million worth of construction debt. We also had an increase in expense for a lot of the fall projects that we're undertaking right now. And we had an unusually large drop in our revenue. So we had a drop in revenue, an increase in expense, and our surplus dropped to 11 million. We expect to have another month of that and probably end the year at a respectable figure in our fund balance by June 30th when we close the books. Any questions on the financial report in general?
Or the other report with Johnson? I so heavily on you on this area.
I did talk to Doug, and he blamed Teresa for making the journal entry for $4.5 million, which ends up showing it with a negative number of almost $4 million. So when you look at this particular sheet that's got the yellows on, if you go down to the $4.5 million transfer, otherwise we would be in a positive number.
I'm sorry, what was that transfer you to?
Teresa, you can probably explain it because you made the journal entry.
Somebody answer.
These were the loans that were made from the Fund 1.
Right.
Okay.
To
Fund 70.
Okay, that's fine.
And it normally is not counted, we would think of it as expense,
Sure.
that's fund accounting.
We essentially paid ourselves back. We transferred it to Pico.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Yeah, yeah. But it does appear that we're going to end up probably at the end of the year with a slight increase in fund balance, which is just where we should be, because we don't end up in a huge fund balance increase. So I think, near as I can tell from looking at these and talking with the financial personnel here, that we're pretty much on track as an institution.
And we appreciate your oversight of this, Mr. Johnson. You really do a good job with the board here. Item I, that is for information purposes only, no need to vote. We'll now move to item J. Dr. Law.
Do we need to approve these?
It says for information purposes only. We traditionally, no.
One of the tasks that comes to us as part of our financial responsibility is to periodically write off uncollectible accounts. And there's always the numbers always seems higher than any of us like. If you think of us running hundreds of millions of dollars through our budget each year, through student accounts and other things, the idea that we would have some debt uncollectible is, again, disappointing, but not unanticipated. Let me do a couple of things. There is a very well-defined process at the college for pursuing debt. This is the last step after we have done all that is available to us. Any student who owes us money, even after we write off the debt, still owes us the money. That is, if they try to come back, our records would still have a hold on them. They cannot get back in without satisfying any debt.
Or getting a transcript.
Or getting a transcript or any of the services of the college. Their records are on hold. I think, I'm just trying to check, we actually used an outside collection agency, but again, at some point, trying to get money from students who have no money is, you're going to write it off at some point anyway. It's unsecured debt. There's nothing we can get back for it.
And state, regardless of whether we collect it from the student or not. And then we have to go try to collect it from the student. And now, as I understand it, with the student loan program, we have the potential to owe the feds money for unpaid Pell and unpaid student loans. And I may get my terminology wrong on that. Whether we get the money from the student, it's our obligation to get the money from the student. So this potential of collections and the liability here for going way up in the uncollectibles. So I just want to make sure we have the most aggressive, that's fair. You know, I know certainly with all the constraints. And I know being clerk of the court, my day job, we're responsible for these collection efforts too. And we've engaged, instead of just one firm, we've engaged other firms to compete against each other in the collection effort. Even then, there's firms that will take your collections after the first collection firm has gone through it to see if they can, through whatever means they can, to enhance effort. So this is just something I'm asking the college to make sure we examine every possibility. And actually, we use a collection agency, which is a law firm which does this out of Texas, Linebarger. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of them, but they have some pretty big accounts to traffic courts up in Chicago and things like that, where they getting something from a law firm actually right there enhances collections. So anyway, I'm just going to ask the next time we look at the vendor that we maybe look more creatively, and I'd be glad to help in this area of collections, of getting a lot of different vendors to look at this a little bit different ways.
I want to be really quick, and I'm 100% with you. You know, the bright futures is, I mean, those students are going to pay us back. When I say this is unsecured debt, they're still enrolled moving forward.
So we
get
carry
the money back
big
from
carry.
them, okay? They're not going to let us bounce them, okay? But we do have to collect that. We have to go get it in a certain way. These are truly bad debts.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we will take it.
And how much additional with this Pell and?
Let me not answer that on the fly, but I'm very nervous. You know, we did this. You remember we were going to save all this money in the federal budget. Well, this is what it looks like. Get the banks out of the middle, make us the lenders, and you want to know what the feds are saving? It's what we have to collect.
So we're the enforcer.
We're the enforcer, that's correct. So it's, that savings is ephemeral in my mind.
Okay.
But we're in the bad spots.
Mr. Chairman, this does indicate, if I read it correctly, that this is a write-off totaling a decrease of 9% over prior year.
That's good.
So that's a very good sign.
It is good.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, any other items on this? Do we need to approve anything here? Is it just for information also?
Yes.
Okay, so moved. Motion by Mr. Gibbons, seconded by Mr. Johnson. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there a motion to approve K, L, we can do M at the same time if that's fine, y'all.
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Did you capture Amanda? Thank you. Equity report, you want to comment on that, Dr. Long?
Yes, I included the entire equity report for you. Each year, this is a legislative creation or through the Department of Education, a truly onerous reporting responsibility. Having said that, though, we follow through on that. It doesn't measure our heart. You know, at every board meeting, we talk about making additional opportunities and those kinds of things. I would urge the board to stay focused on that. In reality, we're making discernible progress in every area save one. And as I indicated to you, we will continue to focus on that, and I will lend some additional of my efforts. But the African American males continue to be missing, and we need to make sure that when we have all our work with the high schools, our young men who can benefit by this relationship, it pains me greatly to think that we have young men who have made it all the way to St. Petersburg College through all of the trials and tribulations, and we would just lose them at our level. That seems to me to be
change in requirement to submit this report, because I have to guess this report ends up on somebody's desk, and it's probably never really utilized, and there's a lot of effort and work to go into it. We know what the problem is, but to me, this is just, and I wish Dennis was still here, and I guess he's gone. Somehow, I would think that we need to relieve ourselves of having to do this kind of tabulation that in my mind, is going nowhere at the state level.
Well, you know, our governor has that person whose job is to cut down the regulation. This is one of those areas where we can cut down.
Well, what if we, as a board, took a position and sent a letter to the governor and said, we think this is one of those regulations that needs to be relieved, because unless somebody's really going to use it, it costs us many, many hours, and we are cognizant.
We're for the intent, we just don't want to do the report.
We don't want to do the report, we're doing the work.
Is that fine with everyone?
I just think we should wait before we send the letter to office.
Okay, that's probably a good idea. Sage advice. Yes, you'll work on that. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. But let's not forget about Mr. Johnson's motion idea there.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Good. Very quickly. First, Sarah Pemberton. Sarah, stand up, okay? Sarah is our Student Government Association. First appearance at the Council of Presidents meeting last week, and was well received, and she is now a member of the President's Cabinet and already contributed to the nice job in yesterday's meeting.
And did you join us for the first anniversary celebration?
I did.
Nice to see you.
And Urban, she was at the Urban League. She's a social butterfly. Great too. We had on campus last week, and I was very proud of our institution, the Higher Ed Coordinating Council. So this is the blue ribbon group that the legislature has deputized to undertake a whole variety of things, and through some early efforts with that group, they came, visited with us, gave us 2 or 2.5 hours at the microphone for us to demonstrate all of the work we're doing across a variety of ways.
Excellent.
And
was it persuasive?
it was persuasive. It must have been persuasive because Commissioner Frank Rosen changed the dialogue. He moved on to it. So we probably won the day, but he moved it. But it was a very depressing. Let me say this. There's here's the bottom line. We could put it all together in one presentation. All of our partnerships, all of our baccalaureate programs, all of our high school relationships, all of our libraries, everything else. And you say, so then this will be better if you're part of the Board of Governors. How you can't picture a better long history of a college working with this.
I think adding bureaucracy out of Tallahassee will certainly improve everything on it, you know.
That came through pretty much. Our staff did spectacular job presentation, so it was really a great day. I will just give you a heads up, a nice thing. I have been invited by Achieving the Dream to be in New York this week, working with them on next steps for Achieving the Dream.
Great.
I will be tomorrow morning.
Why don't you explain to everyone what Achieving the
Achieving the Dream is
colleges are?
national. It's a Illumina Foundation funded a project over probably about 8 or 10 years ago now, intended to raise the performance of students in community colleges and state colleges, focusing again on students of color for the most part, but really getting us into monitoring the very things we do here at Tech. What does student success look like, and what progress are we making? It has changed the dialogue in our industry, and we're really now getting to the next level of really indicating kinds of things, and that's the dimension. 10 or 12 of us have been invited to New York as a working team to review that.
Do we have a desire to become an Achieving the Dream college, or do we fit into that criteria?
I think, let me think about that. It is very nice to have that identification. It puts a little added onus on you, but having that identification is a really empowering thing.
Thank you.
We'd probably have to pay our own way in, but at this juncture, that might be important.
But that's really something our college is all about.
Yeah.
It's nice to have Dr. Law representing this institution, because this institution
should be quick this week, I'll be back next month.
You make that.
And then, I want to tell you, the thing that has me most excited is the planning for the faculty welcome back, and that is August 16th to 17th?
18th.
18th. And I want to give you an invitation, come what may. Okay, but
Where's it going to be?
we'll be back at the Coliseum. We're going to celebrate the faculty emeritus. We've invited all of those folks back for recognition. We've got some really good presentations with our new faculty. The good news is the president's role is significantly diminished. The focus on faculty is significantly increased. It's going to be a very exciting morning, and certainly your presence last year, I know Mr. Gibbons and Mr. Chairman, you were there. Please, if you, we'll get it out to you, but if you
Goes
get
for
out
about
to
noon?
yeah, it's the morning, come for breakfast, we'll get you out before noon, but it's a fast-moving, very exciting, uplifting.
Just the introduction of all the new faculty is very exciting.
And it's even better this year. Let me take 2 more minutes. We have, with our ability to hire faculty by April and get everybody going, and with our Center of Excellence in Teaching and Learning's leadership, we've already engaged. I met with, they were in town last week. We had 24 of them already getting lined up inside the Angel course management system, where all of their systems are working. We put the cohort together. They're mentors. Each of them has a mentor. We had mentors here, and they were working together. So in June, we're already starting the orientation of these new faculty, so that when classes open in August, we can get
And on behalf of the board, I want to applaud you
Very
for the little things that make them included already. The printing of the business cards, and giving them their email address, and things like that. That makes a person feel like, well, gosh, I'm a part of this college already. I may not start yet, but you've done that. Those types of things is really, really good.
There was a bunch of them in the room. I guess there's some still in the process of moving too far and whatnot, but anyone who's local, they've got their laptop, they've got their email address, they've got everything. They are a part of the team already, and they were really bringing them along. So come August 18th, it's going to be a really exciting day. Mr. Chairman, that concludes the work for this month. And we did all that with me taking 2 weeks vacation, by the way. So vacation next month.
Hope you enjoyed your trip. I know you did. Any other items to be put before future agendas? One thing which Mr. Johnston said is the significance of private funds. We're going to have to rely on that more and more. And I know our board meetings have gotten long, and this was an especially long one because we had a tremendous amount of material. But I think at least on a quarterly basis, maybe on a 6-month basis, we should have a report from the foundation. And does anyone object or concur with that? Okay, so we're not only on a quarterly basis, we have a report from the foundation as to what's happening with our foundation.
Maybe that should be done along with your reports from the various campuses.
Right, in that part of the meeting. Okay? But we'll make that a little, because it may be a little bit longer report than just before that. Any other items we brought before the board? Thank you for an excellent board meeting. This board meeting is now